Okay, we're ready. Okay, so now today I feel a little bit like it's a Lakutei Torah shir. There's a little bit to talk. I want to just share a little idea before we jump in. And what we're going to try to take through. Last week we didn't finish Perek Chav Dalet inside. I'm not going to go back right now to read it because we have to, if we want to finish this. Just one nekuda, and I'll just use it right away, like as it is in Perek Chav Hei. So, when you have a friendship with someone, when you're in a relationship with someone, so sometimes a person could do something wrong. So whatever work we do to repair it, we're going back to being in the relationship. Like we already have a relationship. If it's like you have an employee and an employer. The employee didn't do, okay, so the manager, you call him in, you scold him, by the end we say, we're good, you're good. Oh, we have, there's a framework for whatever's going on, it's like, you're fired.
We good?
Now, it's a whole different kind of conversation already. It's not, it's a hiring process, whatever, the Alter Rebbe explains in Perek Chav Daled that you have Averis, that Avera Kala, a person does an Avera. So while he's doing the Avera, he stepped away. But when he stops doing the Avera, he's still in a relationship. But when a person does an Avera that's Krisis and Mrs. Bezdin, then it's not like, I'm not doing anything wrong. No. You need a hearing. A crime has been committed. This is not like, I forgot to put in the mail. Okay, tomorrow I'll put in the mail. No. This is it's at a different level. So, okay, so that's what the Alter Rebbe spoke about, at the end of Perek, to recognize that how it plays out, the differences between Averis. The Alter Rebbe remembers speaking about the Lo Yeh Lecha. Every Aveira is Kfir B'Achdusei. Every Aveira is Aveda Zara. It's just that some of them it's only B'Shas Maisa. And others it's not only B'Shas Maisa, it also continues. You have to do tshuva. So, for me, when I read Perek Chav Hei, which it's a very special Perek Tanya, and it's mentioned, the Rebbe's Metzayin in hundreds and hundreds of places to Perek Chav Hei. And also this is, famously the Rebbe's father wrote to the Rebbe that on the day of his wedding, he should learn Perek Chav Hei of Tanya. And he told him that he should learn it bekavona, but not be'iyun. Right? It's not about a pilpul. It's not about looking for diyukim. It's about really just understanding and internalizing what is said. So that's Perek Chav Hei. So to me, when I read Perek Chav Hei, what's the Alter Rebbe saying? The Alter Rebbe is saying we have to remember that every Yid has a relationship with the Eibusher. We're in a relationship. And we have to remind ourselves, and we have to realize that when we're being big Hasidei Chabad and we want to develop everything intellectually, then sometimes you're tired. Seichel is not at your beck and call. It's not like I'm going to think and I'm going to feel. It doesn't work that way. You need an Eis Rotzon, you need a Shas Moich in the Gadlus, B'Shas and Davening. There are different ingredients that are needed that a person should learn about a Likus and respond. But the Ava Tivis, the Ava that we all have naturally, that defies all. It's not about how well slept you are. And therefore, you could be me'orer at every time that really a Yid is a Yid, and that's our avodah, to be me'orer and to stay in that state of relationship. And every once in a while we forget. Meaning, we're not talking about purposeful, a defiance disorder. We're talking about I got carried away. I went out to do work and I got distracted. And that's why the Alter Rebbe says we say Slach Lonu 3 times a day. Because we don't want to be distracted. We want to come back to the relationship. We want to be, So that's, to me, that's like the underlying idea of Perek Chafei. And then around that, you could intensify it, you could pull it apart, but that's the Nekudah. So let's take a look, Perek Chafei. The Zoh Shagosov, now that we learned Yudches, Yutes, Chav, Chafal, Chav, Beis, Chav, Chav, Dalet, now we'll understand Ki Karvei Lacha Adav Meid V'Gomer. That it's Karev Meid, Bilvavcha. That it's Karev Meid emotionally. How could it be Karev Meid? The Alter Rebbe said in Perek Yud Zayin, She'ein Karev Meid. Here, give him. The Alter Rebbe says it's not Karev Meid. It's Neged Achush. We want Gashmius. Rabbi Yael likes chocolate cake. So it's not, what do you mean? Avos Hashem. There's B'chol Eis of B'chol Shah at every moment, even when your mind is not working so well. B'yodei shel Adam u'b'rshusahu, it's accessible. Halachically, the din of b'yodei arangein echkiris. But if someone says, in Edus, let's say, somebody says, Achreis, this meat is kosher, right? Or whatever, a person makes a statement. One of the questions that we ask, is it within your reach? Is it biyodeh? Like, if you wanted to deliver it, right? Are we asking you for something that you're incapable of, and really someone else had to do it? Right? Or you could do it. So it's biyodeh, it's within your reach, you could do it. Yeah, there's a power. It's Birshusayu. It's within your reach. Why? Because it's lahavi ruach shtus. Alter Rebbe explained just before that the only way we only do an aveira because we're deceiving ourselves, and there's shikha. We're forgetful. So every person has the ability to clear away. The Alter Rebbe said in Perek Yud Daled, in the Hisbeinus, he says, "I don't want to be a shaitan." Every person has within reach. Like, you have to realize in these few lines, the Alter Rebbe is encapsulating like little fragments of all the parak, So take away the shikha. V'lisker, v'la'oirer, to remember and awaken. Avosei la'Hashem echad. This Avos Hashem, the Ava that he has. I just want to also say current events. I hope everyone here saw a little something from Rabbi Lipsker. A little video, now it's on social media, and no. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes I'm not driving anyone to social media, but so Shalom Lipsker passed away. You saw something from him? Anything?
It's a podcast I was starting.
It's
a podcast I was starting.
Yeah. So he speaks like when he speaks about the Rebbe. It's so. It's not only that it's genuine, but it's so close, right? It feels like like that's how. I know what he means. Like I feel that way. You know what I mean? Like he's expressing.
Right.
That he's exuding. Like everything we ever read, felt, learned, like whatever, like somehow there's something about the way he expresses it. He just a little anecdote. He says that when he brought the kids back, he was a learning director in camp. So when they brought the kids back, Chafov, they would have a rally in 770. So he brought the kids back, and the head counselor would usually say a few words in front of the Rebbe. And the head counselor, B'shum Eifenid, he's not doing it. He told Shalom Belipsker, you're going to do it. He was a bocher. So on the way, he says on the bus, he thought 1,000 times what he's going to say, how he's going to say exactly which words. Anyway, he got up and he spoke in front of the Rebbe a few words. And he said, we want to give a gift, the whole camp, to the Rebbe, whatever 1,000 Mishnahs that they learned. the summer, Balpeh, whatever. And then when the Rebbe walked out of the rally, he was standing by the Aron Kodesh. And the Rebbe would always touch the paroiches. So when the Rebbe touched the paroiches, he was like reaching behind him. So it's like he put his hand around him. You know what I mean? Like, because that's where he was. And the Rebbe looked him in the eye from very close, and the Rebbe said, Yeshakayach Shalom Ber. Like with such, and Punkt, a friend of his, caught a picture.
You have the picture?
Yeah, they show the picture. So it's like, how many pictures are there in the Shalash?
Yeah.
And you see Shalom Ber, it's like, it's like we say, Avas Hashem. Avas Hashem, not Avas Hashem al Piseichel. Avativis. Right? The Regesh, like to me, it's a very strong manifestation. He really, you feel it, like, and that's what the Alter Rebbe is saying. It's an Ava Tivis that every Yid has. It's not a Seichel thing. You don't have to be a Greis Chacham. So remember your Avas Hashem, Hamasuteres, Bevadai, Bilvavi, Belishum Safik. Every Yid has it. It's without a doubt. V'zehu shekosov, and that's the pasuk of Bilvavcha. That's what the pasuk is saying. B'ficha Bilvavcha, like, yeah. Now the Alter Rebbe says, V'nichla b'gam dechilu. You should know that the Yira is also included. It's very important. Because, you see, when a person, if you really love someone, you're not going to hurt them. So a person could argue, I don't need Yiras Hashem.
Right.
I love Hashem. I do mitzvahs and I don't do averis. I don't want to separate. But here the Alter Rebbe is saying a deeper thing. Let's say that Avas Hashem is me motivating me. Because I have an interest. This is my friend. Yira is what is that person's boundaries. It's my concern about what the other person is going to say. I'm afraid. Afraid is different. So therefore, Yira has a stronger deterrent. It's a stronger deterrent.
What's the fear exactly?
I don't want to lose the relationship. Now, I don't want to lose the relationship. Now, I know what I want, but I don't 100% know what the other person wants. I can't predict. I can't control how the other person is going to react. So I have to respect them. I have to ask. I have to, right? You know what I mean? Like, to me, like, planning is Yira based. Because based on Ava, a person could say, I'm a talented guy, don't worry, I'll figure it out when I get there. When you say, I'll figure it out when I get there, you're not respecting the conditions of there. Yeah. You're only thinking about the talent that you bring. But when you plan, what you do is you find out.
Like when Lipsker is taking the words again and again, what he's going to say.
Right, exactly. Right?
That's
like I'm going to a venue. I've never been there before. Let me find out where the outlets are.
Yeah.
Right? In other words, I don't want to say, I'm so talented, I have so much experience.
Right.
But I have respect. Right? So Yira is the other party's
consideration.
Right? So it has a stronger deterrent. In other words, my Yira, if I love someone, and I don't want to hurt them, but I'm still controlling it. So I could spin.
Still on. I can find it.
Right? So that's why the Alter Rebbe says, I don't want, it's not only Ava. Ava is not enough.
I don't want your tongue.
There has to be Yira. It says, Vayira klulaba. V'nichla b'gam tchilu. And that's why he's going to say, not even a Isur D'Rabbanon. Not even a Isur Kal Shel Divrei Seifrim. Because if you're making the cheshbonos, right?
Ava is like, I love Hashem, but I'm going to do what I want to do.
Well, okay.
Right? I love Hashem. I'm not going to do anything that I don't think is wrong. That's right.
Yeah,
Right.
so,
Last example, you ask your son to bring water to drink. So regular son will bring water, good son will bring beer and
the Hainu.
That we don't access on a regular day, but the truth is, it's really there. It's really there. The person
I was saying, that's what Al Rebbe is saying.
Just the fuck it does not.
Shalele
Everybody
Pari.
could if they tap into that, could you imagine that person would be like a tzaddik?
The Ava, like we'll soon see.
But in the year also, it means the
Yeah, but-
Ava is so strong that you don't want to lose the relationship. This part is it's not because I don't want to lose. It's that's already us putting ISIS and putting it down. I want to lose it because it's such a good relationship.
Right.
When it's such a strong thing,
It's so pure.
It's so much. Yeah, it's like
Yeah, the Hainu.
there's nothing else besides it, and it's a shame that we don't feel that.
Shaleli Pari b'shum eifen meichud v'achdusi yizbarach, no matter what, not to separate. Afilu b'mesiras nefesh mamish, even at such a cost. And it's avativis. It's beli shum tam v'seichel musig. It's because I know that this is the way it is. It's not because I'm going to explain it to myself. I'm hardwired. This is my nature. That's what the Alter Rebbe said in Perek Yud Tes. The Alter Rebbe said it's a teva. Teva means it's not seichel. It's the way we are. It's a teva eliki. Now, says the Alter Rebbe, the kol shekein, how much more so, b'shviras hatayvus. If a person is ready to sacrifice their life, which is very painful, at the pain of death, so how much easier would it be, b'shviras hatayvus, to break, to defy? A person that wants a hakala miyasure misa. So he says, shekarev elav adavar yoser lich b'shayiser. It's closer to you because it's less painful. And the Alter Rebbe says, Heim b'bchina sur meira. Both not to do something wrong, which is afilu me'avera kala shal divrei seferim, again because there's the year apart. Shalei laver al retzeni yizbarach. I don't want to do an avera me'achar shenifrad ba miyechudi v'achdusei, because you're separating yourself from the truth that there's nothing outside of Hashem. Anoichi Hashem aleikecha. When a person is memala taiva, they're saying, no, I exist outside of Hashem. And it's kamei ba'aveda zara mamish. And aveda zara, the person wouldn't accept at all. And again, it's b'shas maisa. Right? Now, if a person is going to say, well, aveda zara, that's the kind of avera that you're going to be separated even later. The end of Perek Chav Daled. But this kind of taiva is heter. Yeah, it's
those times that we don't you see when there's such a strong
It's
thing
the-
that exists. Like in front of the Rebbe, you're not all the other things they don't exist.
right. But the Alter Rebbe's cheshbon here. The Alter Rebbe is going through a calculation. You have averas that only b'shas ma'isa are a problem, and then you have averas that are long-lasting a problem. So he's saying, well, how could you compare a taiva to aveda zara? Aveda zara is a long-lasting problem. A taiva is a short problem. So he says, Vare. Gam ba'aveda zara, the truth is, even aveda zara could also only be temporary. Because yochalas is tshuva achar kach. Now, remember, by the other aveda, you don't have to do tshuva before, afterwards. When you stop being mamala taiva, you're back in the relationship. By Aveda Zorah, the Alter Rebbe says, no. It's not like, when you stop, you're back. No, you have to do tshuva. But still, there's a way that Aveda Zorah is temporary. And still, a person doesn't make a cheshbon. A person doesn't say, well, it's only temporary, let me be Aver Aveda Zorah. A person doesn't make that cheshbon.
Right.
The you're going to say, what do you mean? A person is going to say, I'm going to bow to Aveda Zorah, and later I'm going to do tshuva. Yeah, but that's echta v'ashuv. I know this is a little technical, what Alter Rebbe is saying.
Other road to Shephanah.
Yeah.
So sometimes getting in the road.
Even though, in other words, we're still going back to this question. We're a person who's wrestling. We're like, I don't understand. If someone came to you and said, bow to one idol, you wouldn't do it. So why are you being mamalatai? He says, how could you compare? Avodah Zarah is a long-term separation.
Yeah.
It's like getting divorced.
This doesn't feel like it.
Over here, it's a little flirting. Was nicht gefährlich.
Yeah, right.
I said, well, getting divorced is also a patch. You could do tshuva.
You can get remarried.
You can get right.
Right.
So, and there still, you're not going to do it. You're not going to make that cheshbon. Someone's a smart aleck. He's going to say, well, if I'm making that cheshbon by Avodah Zarah, then I'm being echta v'ashuv. And echta v'ashuv ema speaking biyad elas's tshuva. So still we're back to the point that Avodah Zarah is worse than a taiva. So he says, no. What does it mean that ein maspik? It doesn't say ha'omer echta v'ashuv ein yochel las's tshuva. It says ein maspikin. Ein maspikin means we don't make it easier for him. We don't make it accessible for him. Right, the way it's explained, the way the Rebbe speaks about it, and in Chassidus, that every day, famously, the Gemara says, there's a baskoil. Right? Every day the neshama hears kruzim, and the neshama of a person is nisayder to do tshuva. A person who served, a person who's echta va'ashuv, a person who did an aveira, and they said, oh, don't worry, one day I'll do tshuva. So what happens is, when he hears those kruzim, they also put in white noise after, that it doesn't stick. They get mavulvul, they get confused, and they lose that whatever moment of, like they went to a fabring and they were very nesayder, but then they heard other things. They met somebody on the way home, and by the time they got home, they forgot about the whole story. So the Alter Rebbe says, but still, avalim dochak ashoah. But even this person, if he holds on tight. And he's also tshuva, ein l'chadav Hashem b'fnei tshuva. So even by Avodah Zarah, it's also reversible.
Different mood to do tshuva than you were just a few minutes ago when you were doing the Avera.
I have a lot of comments to say, but I'll hold them. The Afal Pikein. No, in other words, most people, when they think about what gets in the way between me and my Yiddishkeit, they think about specific averas. Generally speaking, they're like, I could be a tzaddik, but there's one mitzvah, two mitzvahs. That's where there's a weakness. Otherwise, I could be a tzaddik. And those mitzvahs aren't avodah zarah. It's all just taiva. Right? So we're not, none of us are in the zone of like, echta va'ashuv, let me do avodah zarah. In other words, no one's thinking about chet eishes ish. No one's, whatever, the kids are. Echil Shabbos. Rafal Pikein. Still, Kol Ish Yisrael, what do we see? That every Yid is Muchan, Mezuman, Limser, Nafshi, Al Kedushas Hashem. Mezuman is more than Muchan. Ready and prepared. Right? To be Mesa Nefesh, Shalei Lishtachves Laveda Zara. Afilu Lefisha, even temporarily, Velasas Tshuva, Achakach. Why is that? V'hainu. Mitnei Hashem HaMelubish B'nafsham. The Alter Rebbe said that Chochmah Shebenefesh is in us, Kenal, She'eine B'bchinas Man V'shal Klal. It's not limited by time. It's not limited by conditions. It's so powerful. It's L'mayla Me'azman V'shalit U'meishal Olav Kenoida. It rules over. It's like it rules over the person. It's not about his beinunus. Because it's melubish in your nefesh. It's actually there. He explained in Perek Yutes, it's asleep until it comes to an inyan of Avodah Zarah. Right? But it's in your neshama. That's the nitzutz. That's the nitzutz eliki. In other words, we're now talking about what makes it chelik elakami ma'amamish. This is what we're like.
It's not like you're downloading new data. It's already pre-installed.
Because that's what's acting. that's what becomes the actor at that moment. Right? It takes over the whole person. And then Kanamokim, we hear the stories that we spoke about this year, the Nissim Mangel's story with Pesach night, and so many other stories of people actually that were Meisei Nefesh, even in our own lifetime. And I've shared stories here of people, just incredible heroes.
People are missing every day.
That,
like he says, Malik Talak.
yeah, true.
Stories that we don't know about.
Yeah, saying, in other words, when you witness it, it's very powerful. When you witness it, it's not negay everything, whatever on camera, different things right? Like people that doesn't have the option. People that get caught up in relationships and different things, and then only for the Eibishter, they change their whole life. Imagine someone who falls in love with somebody, and then just to make a choice for Yiddishkeit. These are incredible Nisyanis and incredible heroes. The Alter Rebbe is going to speak about Nisyan. So here, till now, we're talking about Sur Meira, that a person doesn't want to do an Aveira, which is all part of the Lo Yiyeh Lecha, that he's going to separate himself. But now the Alter Rebbe is going to, now remember, we're talking about this relationship that we have with Hashem. Now the Alter Rebbe is going to say like this. So, not to do an Aveira, you don't want to separate. You don't want to burn your bridge. But think about now what it means to do a mitzvah. Think about what it means to do something to strengthen your relationship. Right? Imagine, it doesn't matter, in any situation where you know someone, it doesn't matter, you have a business acquaintance, you have your own children, and you say to yourself, I should do something nice for them. It's like, let me put a nice note under his pillow. Let me do so. These are things that are so much more, like our capacity, we feel so special when we live in the space of love. When we do things like that, when we enrich someone's life in such a way, that a person wakes up and they know someone thought about them. And it's unbelievable. So the Alter Rebbe is speaking now about Asay Toiv, about doing mitzvahs within this framework. Imagine every time you do a mitzvah, you're strengthening your bond with the Eibishter. You're building a kesher. It's amazing. So how much kol shekem v'kal v'chomer, like till now we're talking about staying away from doing the wrong thing. But think about what it means to get closer. It's it's like the way we see the people who love Torah, Heim b'bchinas v'asei toiv. He says, Leis gaber ko'ari. The inyan of giber ko'ari is in the heart. Right? Gvuras halev, oimetz halev. Right? A certain determination. That's where you need to have gvura. Neged hayetzer. And the Alter Rebbe spells it out. Oh boy. He's like, the Yetzer Hara has got one weapon, laziness. Right? Yesoid ha'afar. He says, Hamachbid es gufay. He makes everything hard. It's like, you wake up your kids in the morning again. You have to get up. You mean both feet have to get up?
It's starting easy from the Yetzer Hara, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So,
The Yetzer Hara, it's only downhill.
so in physics, how do you say Yetzer Hara? Is it gravity?
Umapil olav atzla, laziness. B'bchinas yesod ha'ofar shebenefesh habahamis. In other words, he's not coming to you with an argument. He's not saying, well, it's just everything is hard.
I agree.
And he makes you sluggish, milahatriach gufay bizrizus, that a person should not be motivated to exert himself. And now think about it. In the relationship, the Alter Rebbe is going to speak about doing mitzvahs more than your nature, because you want to develop the relationship. You want to strengthen it, so you go out of your way. That's what we call in English, going out of your way, is yeser merigilusay. Then the Alter Rebbe speaks about to do beautiful mitzvahs. Right? You want you're going to buy flowers, but you're going to buy nice flowers. It's like you're going to do a mitzvah. You're going to do. I mean, it's another story. I think the story in my story from last week, which the shul didn't get for some reason, was Shalom Ber Lipsker,
That's really interesting, huh?
right? Before he passed away.
Yeah, right.
And the story there was about a guy, a big veer, Mel Landau, whatever it is. Mel Landau, he put tefillin on him once, and then when he came back, he's like, "Don't ask me again." And then Shalom Ber Lipsker wrote something to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said, "Why don't you ask him to put on tefillin?" It was like, "No, this is not going to work." Anyway, I can't say myself, but one interesting thing was the Rebbe said to him that when you bring him tefillin, bring him a nice pair. In other words, it's got to be a Rolls Royce. Don't bring a Miftzayim pair. It's got to be. So he went. He got new boxes and this, and he told him the Rebbe said, "Tell him that I asked. Whatever it was, that he's going to the oil to daven for him, and because he's going to the oil to daven for him, he should put on film." And that he put on film from that day on.
Wow.
It's a Peladik of Maisa, but in other words, Hidur mitzvah. That's the Ava. The Ava is the more going out of your way, beautiful mitzvah, zrizus, right? Not to leave it. Something you want, you rush, you right away, and then the chayas in the mitzvah. All these things are they're expressions of Ava. Ava does all these things, right? Right? People ask me, "Your way home? It's a long way home." Yeah, but the drive is 2 hours, but I'm driving home. So the Ava makes it easy to.
It's always faster back home.
It's 2 hours?
It's 2 hours. It's about 2 hours.
It's actually longer back home.
It's twice. The way there is an hour.
But you're not doing rush hour, are you?
Right. The way there is less than an hour.
They have this definition of happiness at morning you want to go to work, and at evening you want to go home.
Okay. Good. Akoponim. So all these things. Yes, more than all these ingredients, rizus, and the Alter Rebbe is going to allude to each of these in the way he describes the mitzvahs. Avodas Hashem has teirach v'amal. Avodas Hashem takes work going lamel b'teirah, right? To learn Torah with the way it's supposed to be. To learn Torah, to really put your mind in, not sitting on a couch reading little Medrash says. Be'iyun,
A little letters.
right? Be'iyun, scrutinizing, learning deeply, ubepeh, to verbalize, to say every word the whole time. It's not easy. Like Pasuk Pumim Megirsa, when you're learning.
Feel what you feel according to what you describe.
Yeah. Most people, when they learn today, they learn b'machshava. Kamayim Razal, la'olam yosim adam atzme al divrei Torah. A person should give himself to learning Torah. Kisher la'ol, u'chechamer la'masa. You have to give yourself exertion, physical exertion. V'chein litfila. When it comes to tefillah b'kavana, davening b'chol koichem mamish. I was going to speak later about it also. I'll get b'chol koichem mamish, meaning seichel, his beinenus, and time, and mamish without, backbreaking. Till you're, like leaving the gashmias of the world. In mitzvahs and money. I mean, a lot of mitzvahs involve money. Avedas Hatzdaka, to give away money, it's not easy. So the different ways that the Yetzer Hara, the different plots, the different sneaky ways, lekader nefesh adam, he cools you down. Like, don't be enthusiastic. What do you were hard earned, it's your money. And don't be mafkir brius gufay. You have to rest, self-care, you got to take care of yourself. Shalam Eid Negdoi, to stand up against the Yetzer Hara L'Kavshei, Korav Meid Adam. It's very close. Kishe Yosem Elibe. Think about it. Shalanatzeach HaYetzer B'kol Zeh V'Yosem Mizeh, V'lasas HaFachim Mamash. Kalma Eid Mi Yisuri Misa Hashem Yishmerenu. It would be, he's ready to give his life. V'Yisuri Misa Hashem Yishmerenu, Hayem Makabel Ba'ava V'Rotzen, you would willingly receive.
That's easier.
Shaleli parid mi yechudi v'achdusi yizbarech afilu l'fisha lishtachos lavid zara chas v'shalom, even temporarily. So v'kol shekain, how much more so now that you have an opportunity to do something out of love, to connect to Hashem, sheyesh le'lekabel ba'ava v'rotzen, whatever exertion, kedei l'dofka bay. Because the idea here is dveikus, that you're going to be close to Him. And another thing the Alter Rebbe says, it's la'olam voed. This connection that you make with Hashem is l'maylo me'azman. The Alter Rebbe is going to explain. When you make that connection, that's an everlasting bond. When you do, the more mitzvahs you do, you're deepening it. But that one connection, it never leaves. You know, I was at Lahavdil, right? Every once in a while you hear somebody say, oh, you vote for Trump. Why you vote for Trump? Because he says when something happened to him, a tragedy, somebody died in his family, no one knew him. The only one person that Trump called him, so of course he's going to be. Some people, Yichud Nitzchi.
And they were touched once.
That's it. Yeah, right. You make one. That's it. There's a connection. You learn something about the person that's not going to change. You're always. And then you do more things. You deepen the friendship, and then you spend time together, and then. But one time, that's a Yichud Nitzchi. That's with the Eibishter. One mitzvah. That's La'ilam Va, Dahainu. When a person does such Avedis Hashem, what are we doing? We're revealing the truth that the Alter Rebbe said before, that the whole world is the Eibishter. The true Anochi Hashem Alekecha, the true that the Varim are kolol in the Machshava Shevamayach by the Eibishter, that Hashem's Dibur is meyuchad b'machshavte, it's all one. So it's yizgala b'pnimiyas ratzna elyon b'bchinas panim v'gilei rav. We reveal it, right? Because the purpose of creation is being actualized. It's very revealed. V'lei behester klal. There's nothing concealed. It's clear. Hashem created a world with a purpose, and here it is. Uk'she'ein shum hester panim b'ratzna elyon, when there's no obstruction, a person is being Mekayim mitzvahs. In this way, Azai ein davar nifrat klal o klal liyas yesher davar b'fnei asbei. There's nothing outside of Hashem. Ulezois, therefore, you call the other guy in, well, maybe we'll have a minion. Ulezois, therefore, tihiyena, come, take something to eat. Nafshi alikiz, v'chayunis, Olavushayan kulon miyuchadis betachlas hayichud beratzon ha'elyon ve'erin seiv baruch hu kemal. Like the Alter Rebbe explained before, the entire person is completely one, is living in a. When we went through the Prokim, Chaf Aleph and Chaf Beis is the haskola of bitla elamis and mitzias yesh, and Chaf Gimel Chaf Daled is the avoida of it. Right? The avodah of a yid who's being Mekayim Torah mitzvahs, he's learning Torah, there's no hester. And then Chav Daled is when there's avera, there's klippa. So that we v'yichud zeh l'mayla hu nitzchi le'elam v'ad. By the Eibishter, it's everlasting. Yehu yizbarech hu ritzoni l'mayla me'azman. The Eibishter is beyond time. And you're going to say, what do you mean? But Hashem is beyond time, but I'm learning Torah. Torah is Hashem's dibur. Dibur is in the world. Dibur is limited. It's a nivra. The Alter Rebbe says no. Even the Torah, he nitzchi. How do you know? Kamisha Kosov. Hashem's word is forever. And then we have the pasuk and then we have one of the Gimel Ikrim. What is dasai? Miyaminoi, Eish, Das, Lame, Das is Torah. Torah is everlasting. In the Ikrim, without Chassidus, La Yachalev V'la Yomer Dasai means that,
It's in Yigdal.
in Yigdal, yeah, it's one of the Gimel Ikrim. So in other words, Yigdal is, so what does it mean by Pashtus? That the halacha doesn't change. But Chassidus is saying it's everlasting. Torah is forever. So you're learning Torah, so the connection to Hashem is forever. Elo, shalamato tachas hazman. We are limited. This goes back to the point that I was saying before about being in a relationship. While you're learning Torah, while you're doing a mitzvah, at that time, you're in complete harmony with Hashem. But if you're doing something else, you're separated, meaning you're not in that space. When you move away, so that relationship is forgotten. The shav here does not mean tshuva. The shav means when you come back home, it's not like, when you went to work, you got divorced. This is not the army. You go out to war, you write a get krisis. You go, you didn't have time to call home. Maybe you didn't think about your family. Could be, but when you come home, you're back. So kishechezer, when you come back, so Torah tefillah, and mevakish mechila meHashem ashoye efshel levasik b'Torah. If you did have some time during the day to call home and you didn't call home, you apologize. Right? If you had time to learn Torah and you didn't learn Torah, you have to say, I'm sorry. And that's why it's interesting. The Alter Rebbe here brings slach lonu. He doesn't bring hashivenu. He says 3 times a day we say slach lonu. Not 3 times a day we say hashivenu. Because this is not a tshuva issue. You didn't break the relationship. You were just busy with something else. So when you come and say, I'm sorry that I could have been more connected. Hashem yislach le, Hashem will forget him. You're back in the friendship right away. That's why the al-oven bittul Torah. The point of ein adam nitzel mena b'chol yom.
Calling home 3 times a day.
Right. The ein adam nitzel means, in order for a person not to be mevatel Torah, you have to be on it like a hawk. You have to hire someone that every time you turn away, bzzz. It's like, look inside. Yeah, burglary. Every time, right? So it's not on purpose. It's not like, I defied. That was the idea of the Korban Talmud. That's not echta v'ashuv. Even those 3 times a day, it's with such incredible frequency. But that's only Elohim Kain shebeshas hachet mamish usemech ala tshuva. He's like, And mishkasav makam acher. So that's a chet. Yuva now will understand. Lama tziva Moshe Rabbeinu olav hashalom b'mishnah Torah. Why did he tell them the chumash dvarim? Meaning, why did he tell them right before they entered into Eretz Yisrael? He told them, to say Shema twice a day, lekabel all of Malchus Shamayim, b'mesiras nefesh. He said you have to say Hashem Echad and b'chol levavcha, b'chol nafshecha. I don't understand. The Yidden were promised safety. The Eibusha promised them, Moshe Rabbeinu presented to them, your enemies will be afraid of you. When you're going to go for Sholosh Regolim, when you're going to come home, you can leave your doors unlocked, and your animals, everybody's going to be careful. You don't have to worry about anything. So what's the Mesiras Nefesh? What are they afraid of? She says, it's not about enemies. It's not about Canaanim. To be a Jew is dependent on this Indian. You have to remember that you're in a relationship with Hashem. And to do an Aveira means Aveira Zara. And Hashem's oneness, that the whole world is only Hashem. Shia kavua belibay tamid mamish. It has to be mamish, constantly wedged in your heart. This is, we use the word constant. Yoimom valayla la yomish mezechiraynu. Don't forget it. You know, like there's the vort, I think it's from the Tzemach Tzedek. He says that when a person has an only child, they have like an image of the only child burned in their soul. So he says that's how the Eibishter has the Yidden chokuk. So yeah.
Baal Shem Tov said like older parents has.
Yeah, that's the Av. Yeah. Ki bazeh yuchal lamed neged Yitzhar Naschei Tamid. That's what it takes to always win the war against the Yetzer Hara. B'chol eis u'b'chol shah kanal, at all times. Again, this idea, even when you'll be confronted by big tests. Every person, at a certain point, people are confronted by big tests. And in a person's lifetime, there are different circumstances. Every once in a while, no one should be tested. But every once in a while, someone will come and say something like, no one has a test like me. You think if anyone had it, like they would still be flown?
Someone said, don't ask strength from God, because He will show you how you are strong.
Right, that was the mice of David HaMelech. Chevre, Yashikoya, thanks.